Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had a first round exit against the Nashville Predators, and it was unfortunately not a great series for our team in a lot of ways, and unfortunately, we're packing our bags a lot earlier than we were anticipating to. Now, obviously, it did go to Game 7, which is quite nice. However, it was a lot of back and forth in terms of wins and losses. So at that stage, I kind of felt like we were going to eventually lose 2 in a row, which ended up being the last 2 games in overtime, and then 5-1 convincingly in Game 7. So it really sucks that we ended up losing to them, because I thought at times maybe we could have ran up with a 3-1 series lead. Maybe we could also have had like a tie series or like we could have taken a 3-2 series lead here instead, something like that. But this team just could not find a way to score consistently against the Preds, and unfortunately, despite us having pretty similar records, they got the best of us in 7 games, and we packed our bags quite early. Now, we were anticipating some retirements in the offseason, and we actually did not get a single retirement in last episode, which is kind of an interesting thing, because that means Ristolainen is going to be coming back to this team as a 40-year-old, which is pretty insane. He's probably the oldest player I've ever had in a sense, because I don't think I've had much players play into their 40s before, and Ristolainen is going to come back also for this last year on a $1.3 million contract, because we gave them that extension in last episode as well, so he hasn't retired yet. Also, Kolars hasn't retired yet, and he's 37 years old, and the other old man on the team is Bell at the moment, who's 36, so those 3 guys will likely be back for another full season, and it will be interesting to see how good this team does. I'm honestly not too sure if our team's still good enough to really win a Stanley Cup. Like, they're kind of like, we have some solid players on it, don't get me wrong, like Dunham, Hunwick, those type of guys, but I just feel like there's something missing from this team. Maybe it's the high-end talent like that we had back in the day with like Staubitz and all that, but I definitely don't think we're as strong as we used to be. I definitely think we can make it back to the postseason, but if we do make it back to the postseason, I don't know if this team can win more than 1 or 2 rounds, so hopefully that changes in this upcoming season. We do have a lot of also players up for renewal this offseason, so I am a little bit skeptical that we're going to be able to afford everybody, but hopefully we could hold on to mostly all these UFAs we have this offseason, but it's definitely going to be a little bit pricey for us, which is an unfortunate thing. It's kind of crazy how many UFAs we actually have, so it's not like we could qualify a lot of them too, so definitely some tough work to be done, but I think it should be still an okay looking roster at least going into next season, permitted we don't lose anybody too big. But with that said, anyways, there was no comments in last episode. I was actually just thinking there was comments, but there was no comments in last episode. So I think we're going to probably already get to this draft. Now, I don't really know if this draft class is going to be that great, so we might make some pretty bad selections in this draft class. There is some prospects with some good potential, so maybe we'll just end up stealing those. But a lot of these guys that we end up drafting anyways aren't going to make it before the series ends, so it doesn't matter too much if we do really good picks or not, because we won't get to see any of these guys make it to Albuquerque before the series ends. So, but yeah, we'll definitely try our best to get some good prospects in. And then obviously the re-sign stage is the most important thing about this episode. Free agency, if there's former players and we need players, obviously we may bring some people back again to this team. But I'm not too sure if there will be at this stage, because we are going to be going into 2047-48 in next episode, which is the second last season potentially of this franchise mode. Might be the last season. I'm not too sure if it goes to 48-49 or 47-48. Can't remember exactly. So anyways, with that said, let's hop into the draft and just see what we can snag up here. And like I said, let's hope that we can maintain our roster for the most part once we get to free agency. Like, hopefully we have a ton of cap space, and we can maybe just give people 1-year deals that we want to hold on to long-term in a way too. So that way we're not overpaying and stuff like that. But anyways, Chicago has the first overall pick, followed by Toronto, Carolina, Vancouver, and Utah. We're not drafting till I think it was like 22nd, wasn't it? Something like that? Yeah, 22nd overall. So we might be able to get something decent there. But like I said, it doesn't really matter too much, because they're not going to make an impact on the series whatsoever. All right, so let's see what this year's top 5 is looking like. So Chicago at number 1 is going to select Cahill, who's an 81 overall right-wing sniper, medium elite as well. Emiliano Cahill is his name. He has Make It Snappy, and he also has wheels, so a good skater, good shooter. And he's a smaller dude too, so yeah, definitely that skating is going to be good for him. His balance isn't so good because he's a smaller dude, but still this guy is a nice little threat that they picked up there in Chicago. Toronto at number 2, they are going to select Gormley, who's also a right-wing sniper, only an 80 overall, so a little bit worse. but still going to be developing likely into a pretty good player, just like the guy that went first overall. Now, what's interesting is this guy, despite being 6'2", the other guy has the exact same balance. So the 5'8" guy might actually be not too bad in terms of balance in a way, but for some reason they gave less balance or the same balance to somebody that's a lot bigger. So that's kind of interesting that the statistics are like that. Anyways, Carolina at 3 is going to select a DFD in McKinnon, 76 overall in Henry McKinnon. All right, so there's the first defender of this draft class. What about the Canucks at number 4? They take Rita, who's a left wing sniper, 80 overall. Okay, so there's a lot of snipers in this draft class, which is interesting. This guy also has the 81 balance, so it seems like for some reason, always when EA has generated prospects, some of their attributes are always the exact same. Like the balance is always there for the snipers that are supposed to go in the top 5. It seems like regardless of height, which is kind of interesting. Utah at number 5 is going to select Olsen, who is also a sniper, but he's only a 77. Jude Olsen, interesting name. He only has 79 balance, but it's probably because he's a little bit more of a lower end guy. But he could definitely develop into being something like who the first overall pick was. So 4 snipers in the top 5, only 1 defenseman. It's interesting. Let's simulate to our pick at 22. See what we could snag up here. What went before our selection? Anything crazy good in terms of steals? Medium elite goalie, 17th overall in Waugh. Not Patrick Waugh, but Vic Waugh. That's such a weird name to say. Kor Prakari, he's a pretty decent defenseman, 74 overall offensive defenseman. Aside from that, medium elite, that's actually a pretty good steal for the Flames at 11th overall. Aside from that, nothing else too crazy. So yeah, I don't think this draft class is going to set the world on fire, but we might as well just see what we could snag up here. So there's all these guys, but I doubt they're actually going to be super good. Let's look at those attributes here. Yeah, they don't look that great. So I think we're going to probably just go off the board here. And we're going to snag up one of these low elites that we pinned. We're probably going to just take Moroza. There is a chance that Frazee is also a low elite. But I feel like maybe the left winger is better to take just because Kolar is obviously on his way out of retirement at some point. So yeah, we're going to go with Sergei Moroza with this pick. Maybe we can get Frazee. We won't be able to get Frazee with the next pick. But we'll take Moroza here anyways with our first selection. Boom. 65 overall, low elite power forward. I don't think he makes it before the series ends unless he jumps to a 79 within 1 year. Yeah, still good prospect at least for the future of this team after basically this series ends. So there's Moroza, 6'4", 216. So he's a big guy, and he still doesn't have that great of physical attributes. So kind of interesting. All right, let's simulate to pick 55, and let's see what went after our selection, see if we missed out anything. So funk them. That would have been a nice selection if we would have gotten the next pick here. If we would have gotten 21st instead. I guess we could use centers too, so maybe I should have went for somebody like Funk. DeLuca going to the Jets, pretty solid pick there. Looks like it might be actually an okay draft class, considers medium 6s and medium 4s going in round 2. Frazee was a low elite defensive defenseman, so we could have not gone wrong with our selection there. Yeah, this actually might be not a terrible draft class. It's probably going to dip off completely at some point, though. So after our selection, Card was medium 6, Boschman was medium 9, and maybe not great. Yeah, a lot of these other teams didn't do any good selections. So the second round had some good picks, but the late first round did not. Let's see what else we got here. Oland is not guaranteed to be elite. Doesn't look the greatest on paper. Did I have anybody else pinned for like early stages potentially? We do have Mikulski, who's a medium elite sniper. I mean, since he's a medium elite sniper and he's 18 years old, we might as well take him. It's unfortunate we won't get to see this guy play, but let's take Mikulski here with this next selection. Boom. And he is a 53, so yeah, he's a long ways away from making it, but still, this guy probably would be a very nice addition to the forward group down the road. Like, definitely I could see this guy being in a top 6 role if we had more than 25 years in franchise mode, but do not mind that. So there is Mikulski. Let's simulate to our next pick at 88. See if we could snag up somebody crazy. There is Bannister. He could be elite, but it's hard to say. He could also be a low 6. There's also a couple other low elites that are supposed to go in medium elites. I honestly might just keep going with the guys off the board just because they have good potential at least, but we could always make a different selection here first and foremost for this round. So let's see what this there is potentially. See if there's anybody with interesting attributes. Why does it go to that? Any crazy good attribute spread? Kind of with Ned Smith. Yeah, Ned Smith actually doesn't look that bad. We could go for the goalie and get a medium elite goalie prospect, but we already have some, so I don't really need that too much. We've already drafted a lot of left wingers, but let's go for Ned Smith just because of his attribute spread. Low 6, 66. That's not terrible. Could be definitely a better potential, but the overall is pretty solid. He is 19 years old, though. I don't know if he would develop, but that's an okay pick, I'd say. Not a crazy pick, but we will probably just go off the board with their last few selections because at this stage it doesn't matter too much. And also these guys have the most potential too. So we'll take, I guess, Musel first here. So we'll take Valkrov Musel, who's a low late two-way forward. 49 overall. Yikes. And that's a low overall. But still, at least it has more potential for our prospect pool. Let's simulate to 154 now. We'll take the other low elite, who is a Belgian player, so that's kind of interesting because I don't think I've ever drafted a Belgian player. Maybe I have in one of my franchise modes, but I don't remember. So let's go with Valiaholi, who is a Belgian that's playing in Switzerland, but his last name makes me feel like he's Finnish, I think, but I can't remember if that's a Finnish last name or not. I think it is. 56 overall, that's not too bad. He is, though, a little bit older. He is a 19-year-old, so we'll see if those guys start to develop at all. And our last two selections of this year's draft class. Let's see if we could snag anything else here. So we do have that one guy pinned who's probably a low lead based on that says low franchise. Is there anybody else I could find here that I could take with this pick, and then I could take that other guy next round? Not really seeing too much in terms of good attributes, to be honest. There's a lot of guys with pretty mid attributes. This guy might be okay with attributes, but he is 20 years old. There is a gem here in Komatov. I didn't even realize that. So, you know what? We're going to go for Komatov with this selection. Boom. There's another low elite. Nice. It's good that we looked and saw that he was a gem. So, Vitaly Komatov, welcome aboard. And our last selection, maybe another low elite, as there wasn't a low elite that just went before our spot in Volchenkov. But we're going to go off the board here and take a guy that's not even supposed to get drafted in DeAndre Westgarth. I do actually want to take a look for a second here. Let me go back down here. I saw it said a C. Paul. I want to see if he's Chris Paul. No, Colby Paul. Damn, that sucks. Okay, let's go with DeAndre Westgarth with this last selection here. See how good he is. Low elite 55 overall. See, there's good selection. So we drafted a lot of low elites in this draft class. Obviously, a lot of these guys won't make it before the series ends, unfortunately, but at least the future is bright once the series decides to come to a close, which is relatively soon. So there is the draft class. Not a bad one, I would say, for us. I'd say we got a decent amount of steals to spend, depending on where we were drafting. Like, Mroza and Mikulski were both good. Smith was probably our worst pick, and then we got a bunch of low elites, so no real problems, I would say, with this draft class, despite its lacking in quality a little bit. All right, re-sign stage. This is the most important part about this episode, and also I'm also a little bit nervous about the cost of everybody, but I think we might be able to bring back mostly everybody. It depends on how much, I guess, the defenders are going to ask for, though, because the defenders are going to be probably the most pricey players. So if there's any turmoil, I think it would be on the defensive side of things potentially, but not too sure. Let's get back our scouts that we need to bring back, which was Arkhipov and Otterize, I think it just said. So Arkhipov and was it Otterize? Yeah, it was. Perfect. So we'll get you two back. Nicely done. And now let's see. There is also some big RFAs, so I am a little bit skeptical. $58 million in cap space, though, so we at least have a lot of cap space to work with. We're going to start by going to the bottom of the RFAs and just signing the ones that want two-way contracts, because that's at least a little bit easy. Carlotti still wants a one-way. Probably have to qualify the rest of these dudes for the time being. So let's just qualify them. Robertson had to get qualified at $5 million, which is quite a bit, but is what it is. So we'll qualify all those RFAs. Bachman, what do you want? You only want $950 for 2 years. That's fine with me. That'll take you to the end of the series. So, And Andronov, do you want a two-way contract? Do you want also his same contract? You know what? We're just going to give both of them it. One of them will probably be back in the AHL to start off with. But, yeah, I'm okay with giving 3 goalies one-way contracts, basically. Now, the players that need to be re-signed to start off this, though, in UFAs, because this is where it's going to cost us a lot. We're going to give Kolar's less money, obviously, and we're going to give him a no-trade clause as well, so I could maybe dip him down even more so. Oh, man, I don't want to dip him down that much, but he's not going to get as much as he used to, obviously. So if I give you a no-trade clause flat out, I could drop this down even more so, which is good. How much more can I drop it down by? Probably somewhere around here. So 2.475. I think that's a decent deal. Obviously, Kolar's is dropping off, but he needs to retire with this club regardless, so we'll just off from that. Aside from that, who else do I need to prioritize re-signing? Nobody crazy. Licht needs his ELC for the AHL, that's for sure. This low top 9, and I'm not going to sign you. We don't have the time anyways to develop you. Low 4, don't have the time to develop you. And medium 6, 54 only at 19. As fortunately, despite the potential, this guy's not going to pan out in the slightest. So I'm just going to let him walk because just he's not going to pan out on time. Aside from that, do I need to bring back Lawson for the AHL? He's the only UFA that would want a two-way deal. And you know what? We'll hold on to him just in case. Just in case. Alright, how much is these UFAs going to cost us? Not going to sign Teufel to his ELC. But how much are these UFAs going to cost us here? I'm kind of scared about this. I don't know who I want to start on by looking at offers for. Let's see. How much is Delisle going to cost us? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I think George Delisle might have to head to the free agent market at the beginning because has very low organizational interest and wants $12.45 million. You go to 1 year, he still wants over $12 million bucks, but his interest drops off a lot. If I change this to giving him a clause, maybe we could get him for 12.45, but that's a lot of money for George Delisle. I think Delisle, unfortunately, might have to be a casualty in one of these last seasons, which is unfortunate. He had a really good season, 69 points, but to give him $29 million, or what was it, $12 million after a season like that? I don't know if it's doable. So I think we might have to let him walk. Kopitz wants over 10. Kopitz might be a little bit more worth it because he is our second line center potentially / top 6 player. Because Ristolainen dropping off obviously. 5-year deal though. If I drop this down to, let's see, can I drop this down by a good chunk? I might be able to drop this down to like 9.175 if I give him a no trade clause, because obviously we're not trading people in the series anyways. That doesn't, oh, that just puts it up by a full bar. Maybe I could get him for less because of the no trade clause. Yeah, I think we got to take advantage of the no trade clause, at least in this. Now, this is a lot of money to give to Kopitz, but I need to have at least somebody here because of the center stuff. So, you know what? We're going to give Kopitz 5 years at 8.6. It's a lot of money, but we got to bring some of these guys back. Cogliano is another one that needs to come back because he's relatively young. He doesn't want a ton of money, doesn't want a ton of term. Let's just give him what he's asking for because that would at least sign him up for the rest of the series. Hutton in the defensive core. How much is the defensive core going to cost us? $9 million bucks for Rickard Hutton. That's a lot right now. What about Petterman? Oh my goodness. Why do everybody want $8+ million on this team? Let's sign a couple more forwards here as well. Doughty, 1-year deal. We're just going to knock this down to around 3.575. Sure. Hansen is kind of like a bottom 6 option. He still wants a good chunk. Oh my god. Why is this so expensive? Everybody wants like north of 3 million bucks. Reefers as well probably should be relatively okay. $3 million for 3 years. I wouldn't have to re-sign him again, so you know what? We'll do it, sure. But this is getting a little bit pricey here. Just gotta hope that some big contracts come off the board soon. Yeah, we'll do 2.725. That's not a bad contract, to be honest. Okay, so all those guys should sign. It's more about the defenders. These guys are going to want a lot of money. And then Delisle, I think, might have to go. He might be the main casualty this offseason just because that demand is way too much. Let's advance today and see if all those UFAs accept and how much money we got at that stage. Because, Cogliano rejected. Let's just go through this quickly and then see if there's any rejections. Looks like a lot of people stuck with us, though. So Cogliano was the only one that rejected. We're down to $42.3 million. These guys aren't going to cost us a ton. Robertson probably will cost us a good amount because right now he's trying to get how much? You know what? I might honestly just re-sign Robertson for the rest of the series at this point. I know he's an RFA right now and I could keep advantage of his RFA status, but if I sign him to this contract right now, I will not have to sign him again. So I'm already going to give him a contract so that way I don't have to deal with him any longer. Basically, sure, take the 4-year deal. Boom, thank you. So the player that's going to cost us the most out of these is Cogliano in the defensive core. I think Delisle is as certain to be gone, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it works. Let's also give Cogliano a no trade clause just to help with the interest maybe a little bit more. And we'll see if he accepts that. If he doesn't accept it, I might have to sell more on the organization a little bit, so... let's see. Can I drop this money a little bit? Yeah, I could drop this down probably a little bit here, right? Trying to see if this is actually dropping down in value at all. Oh, there you go. Now it starts to drop off a little bit. Since he doesn't have a lot of organizational interest, I have to keep this pretty high up. So, yeah, let's try and get him on that type of contract. And then for these defenders, I might as well just lock them up. I'm really hoping that we lose like Bell to retirement or something soon because that would also free up some cap space. But the cap situation, we only have to deal with this offseason one more time next year. So I don't need to be worried too much about after 25 years. Obviously, it's good to set ourselves up for a good spot where the AI would be technically a good to manage the rest of his team. But at the same time, I don't know if I could really do too much to help us out a bit. So Petterman's not really worth $8 million, but I'm gonna hold on to him just because he's a right D man. And Hutton, we are gonna give you also a 6-year deal. And I'm gonna knock this down a little bit here if I can. Maybe I should take advantage of the clauses as well, so that way it actually works a little bit here. Let's see. Let's knock this down to half a bar maybe. Yeah, that should be fine. Let's sign both those guys up. That's going to cost us like $16 million. That's a lot of money. But I don't know if there's going to be any super important UFAs next offseason, so we might be okay. Let's see. So we got a rejection from Petterman. Hutton accepted, though. So Petterman rejected. We need to still sign him. We did get Robertson back, which means we're down to $26 million. All these RFAs are going to be nice and cheap. But Petterman is the one that's going to cost us still a good chunk here. Let's see if I could talk him down a little bit here. Can I give you like 8.375? Actually, let me give him a clause involved too, because this clause at least should help with things a little bit. Now, like, everybody on our team is going to have like clauses at this point, or a lot of people on the team is going to have clauses, but let's go 7.725 with a full no trade clause. And in Delisle, like I said, I think he's got to be a casualty, unfortunately. These guys are probably going to be two-way contracts or low-end. Krejcik wants a two-way. You know what, Krejcik, take that two-way already, buddy. Take that two-way for me. Wall wants a one-way. We'll just wait on him a little bit to see if that drops off a bit. Johnston, stay with that. Okay, that should be fine. That should be fine. Let's advance and see if Petterman accepts. Let's see. So Petterman is on board. That's good. Okay, so we're down to $19.7 million in cap space. These three guys cost us probably 1.8 or less each, which means we have technically maybe around $16-15 million in cap space. Hypothetically, I could re-sign Delisle, but to me, I don't think I could bring him back at that price point still. Because, yeah, it's just going to cost us too much. Hunwick's a UFA next offseason. Oh boy, that's going to be a big UFA to deal with. Yeah, I think we need to free up that cap space by letting go of Delisle. That makes, obviously, our forward group a lot worse, though, because he's one of our best forwards that we're going to be losing. But it does give a chance maybe to Doughty to play higher up in the lineup next season, which I don't mind. So, We got to hope that maybe some guys from the AHL get promoted, or that there's some guys in free agency that are decent that used to play with us. So, yeah, I don't think I could bring back George Delisle, which is unfortunate because he's been here for such a long time, too. But, yeah, let's give a salute to George Delisle. Not a bad player, but not a crazy player, to be honest. Like, the year he played his rookie seasons when we won the Stanley Cup, it looks like. But, yeah, he was a pretty decent player. And then, obviously, last season, 69 points is pretty damn good, but most of those were on the power play. He's been a good playoff performer, too. That's one thing that's going to suck, too, is I don't think it's going to help us in our playoff performance, but $12 million, even if we gave him a one-year deal, I just don't think it would be worth it. Because if we go to 1 year here, drops off by a cliff. If I gave him a one-year deal with a no-trade clause, you're still looking at probably paying him $12.4 million, which pretty much eats up all the cap space we have left. It leaves us with like $7 million, but I don't know if I'd want to give him a one-year deal only. I just don't think it's worth it. Any unsigned guys need any contracts? No, it doesn't look like it. We'll see if he drops his asking price in free agency, but for right now, I think we're just going to let him walk to free agency. When did we draft him again? 10th overall. That's crazy. 10th overall, 13 years ago. So shout out to George Delisle. He might not come back unless he's asking for a good amount of money in free agency instead, but let's let him walk because I just don't think there's any room for him with that type of money demand. Nobody lost morale, so at least that's good. All right, let's simulate to free agency. See if there's any former players in free agency that we could bring back since we do have money. But I'm not too sure if there's going to be anybody worth bringing back at this point in this franchise mode. How much money do we got still now? 18.775. We still have a couple RFAs hanging out. Wall and Johnston. We might as well just sign these guys almost because they're pretty damn cheap. So we'll probably just do that already. Let's go with 1925 for Wall. And then Johnston, what are you wanting? You're wanting 1.6, but we're going to knock you down to probably like 1450. Boom. So we'll see if those guys accept. They likely will, which means we will be down to probably like $16 million or so in cap space. Like we technically could afford to bring back Delisle, but I'm not too sure if I want to or not. Let's see if there's any former players here other than him, though. So we don't need goalies. That's a definite thing. So we're not even going to really look at any former goalies if there's any here. There is Harakala, speaking of former goalies. But from a defensive standpoint, any former defenders? Wait, why do I remember Goddard? Oh, I'm remembering Goddard because I'm thinking of the Goddard that used to play my Jet series last year. I was like, Jay Goddard. I remember Jay Goddard for some reason. Let's see. Tulipov is back in free agency. Interesting. So he only spent a couple years in Minnesota, but he is back in free agency. I don't really know if he's worth bringing back to this organization. It would be nice to have another defenseman so we can move McLeod back to forward again because McLeod could literally just take what Delisle was playing. But I'm not too sure if I want to bring back Tulipov. Let me take a look and see if that would make sense here. So the defensive core, if we did not have McLeod playing defense, would be Hunwick, Hutton, Petterman, Bell, Carlotti, and Nold or something like that. We do need actually probably another defenseman, hypothetically, because technically if McLeod's not playing defense, we would need another D-man to play next to Carlotti. So I might honestly bring him back, Tulipov. Because we could always move, like I said, McLeod back to a forward position. Because if we look at our forward chart now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kolar's in the top 6 is not what I want to run with. So I think McLeod going back to forward is a good thing. Moving Kolar's obviously to a third line role again is good. Yeah, I think I know what we need to do here. And I think it's bring in a defenseman, move McLeod back to forward again. We'll see if there's any other players to bring back, but I think I'm going to give Tulipov a contract. Now, he wants $6.45 million. That's a lot of money. He wants 2 years. I'm not going to give him a 2-year deal. What does he want for a 1-year deal? 6.55. If we give him 6.55, I give him a no-trade clause. Yeah, now we could get him a little bit lower than that with that no-trade. 6.475. It's a lot of money to give to. Again, it's going to drop off, but we do need defensive help in a sense because, like I said, I think I am going to move McLeod back to forward this upcoming season. So let's do this with Tulipov, just so we have another defenseman in the organization. Anybody else that used to play with us that I have not seen in a while? No, not. There's Dwayne Sagan. He's not bad. He's more of a depth defenseman. Has he played in the NHL with other teams yet? He has played with the Sharks, apparently as of recently. He played a full season with them. Don't know if I want to bring back Sagan. He's not a bad option as well as like a depth defenseman. We could probably use a depth defenseman. You know what? We'll bring in Dwayne Sagan again as well on a one-year deal. At least a lot of these guys like our organization because they used to play with us. But let's get Sagan in as like maybe a depth defenseman. Aside from that, in terms of forward help, any forwards we want to bring back? See, at least by letting go of Delisle, we kind of free up some cap space to bring in things we actually need more of. So I'm not too worried about that. Evan Patrick, oh yeah, man, the enforcer. He's still been playing around in the NHL a lot too. As with the Bruins the last few years. I don't really think I need an enforcer for the bottom six. I don't even really know if I need any forwards in general. So I probably won't bring any forwards in unless there's somebody really intriguing to bring back. There's Delisle. He wants $11 million on the open market. He does not have organizational interest whatsoever. So I think unfortunately he's going to have to go to some other team. But it is what it is. Anybody on left wingers? Philip Malak. Don't really need him too much at this stage. He's not a bad option for the bottom six, but I don't think I need him. Cade Del Monte is back in free agency. Our former third overall pick. 30 points last year. Not doing obviously as good as he was at one point. It's kind of interesting because he was in Ottawa for a while, went to Philadelphia, then went back to Ottawa again. So he does like my city at least, which is interesting. How much would he cost us? $2.2 million for a year is really not bad. I know he's going to drop off more so, but it would be interesting to bring him back. So you know what? Let's bring him back as well. We have the money. We might as well have a reunion tour for this last season, right? We might as well, or one of these last seasons, I should say. Aside from that, not seeing really too much else. If some of these guys have to play in the AHL, then they will, but I'm hoping that most of them could jump into our NHL team. Just give us a little bit more depth in case of injuries and all that. So, not seeing really anybody at center here. Damn, Oostorf. That guy used to be an elite player, right? Yeah, that used to be the first overall guy. Damn. He's dropped down to a 79. He's dropped off a lot. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody else. Alright. So hopefully all those guys accept. Is there any new coaches that we want to bring into this organization as well, potentially, to help with simulation a bit? Because it's not that our current head coach has been bad, but we haven't been able to get that success that we want. So what is our current coach in terms of fit? 41. Yeah, let's look at new coaches maybe and see. Because maybe a new coach would actually help things out a lot. 51. What is the highest? Matt Duchene might be the best, to be honest. Because Vorub is a B. You know what? Let's try and bring in Matt Duchene. But I'm going to demote one of our coaches. So that way I have that head coaching job open. So we'll move this guy. We'll move we'll move Hromis down to the AHL assistant for this. Yeah, we'll go with that. You go with that. We'll move you down to assistant for the time being. And we'll go hire coach. And we will try and hire Matt Duchene as a temporary head coach. He might not be the head coach of this team, but I do want to just see if we bring in a new coach, if that maybe helps this team a lot. So let's just give Matt Duchene all of the money in the world. And hopefully he wants to come to here instead of Calgary or Minnesota. So that is going to be the coach we try and bring in. Aside from that, we should be pretty much good with everything else. So let's advance a few days, see if we get those free agents we want. Bring back some former guys. Because obviously that would be kind of nice just to give us a little bit more solidity to our lineup. Duchene's on board as the head coach. He likes the financial compensation. So we'll see if he ends up being our head coach at the start of the season. But we might as well bring in new coaching staff and see if that changes what this team could do. Aside from that, Cade Del Monte is on board. He is welcome back to the organization, retired maybe with this team, which is kind of neat. Obviously, he's 37, so he's another old guy, but I think it's just kind of fun just because we might as well do something like this if we're not going to be a good team. Still bring back some former players and maybe just give us a bit more depth with guys that used to play with this organization way back in the day. So welcome back to Cade. Aside from that, Dwayne Sagan's on board as maybe a depth defenseman for us. Wall's back on board with that RFA contract, same with Johnston. Tulipov's back on board after 3 years in Minnesota. And I think we are waiting on one more person. Is it one more person or is that everybody? That might have been everybody that I gave contracts to. I don't remember now. Yeah, I think it must have been. No, it says 2 contracts offered. Who else do I have offered to? Maybe not. Do I have any other contracts offered? I don't think so. I don't even know. Anyways, let's begin to sim up to next season and get ourselves set up. I'm excited to see what this roster looks like, but I'm expecting some drop-off drastically from guys that are old. Like Cade DeMonte, who we just signed, I think he's going to be lower than an 80. Risto could be even lower than that. Well, he might be still a 78, which is kind of insane, but we are going to still run Risto in the lineup regardless. But there is a good chance that he could be maybe a 4th-line center, which is kind of risky, so... let's get this lineup set up and see what we're working with here. So, in terms of our roster, obviously we have right now Duchesne as the head coach, but we could adjust it, so we're going to take a look at that after we set up the lines. But goalies, it's Giunta and Bachman. Bachman's still listed as a backup, which is good. And we do have Andronov, who jumped up to an 84. And Andronov might have just knocked Bachman back down to the AHL for a little bit, which is interesting. And Dronov doesn't go through waivers, so I maybe want to hold him down there. I might want to hold him down there. And he'd be the goalie that goes up and down, even though he's listed as a backup. And Bergfors is literally listed as a minor starting goalie. He's a 78. Chodin jumped to a 77. So we literally have 5 goalies that are NHL caliber. So shout out to Giunta, who's literally going to be kind of lucky here that he's still the starter. But he might jump off to the backup at some point. He's now an exact starter, so maybe he's on the decline already. But, yeah, that's a logjam in goal. Goddamn, yeah, we'll leave Andronov in the AHL to start just because of the waivers. Because then I could call him up, send him down without him getting claimed. Bachman, if I send him down, he gets claimed potentially. So goalies are good. Defenders, we have Hunwick, Hutton. McLeod's going to be playing forward. We have Petterman, Bell, Tulipov. And we need... Nold's actually listed as a top 6 defenseman. That's also a good thing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we probably should use 6 for Nold. And then who is actually listed as a depth defenseman? Johnston or Sagan? Both of them are pretty similar. I probably will call up Johnston so we have another right defenseman. So we'll call up those 2 guys. A lot of our defensive core has clauses. That's actually kind of funny looking at that. McLeod's the only one without a clause, and he's probably the best in terms of offensive production. From an forward perspective, those guys look fine. Beluso could stay in the AHL. Dingle is on the left wing side. I forgot that Dingle was going to jump up a lot too. So, Vasilyev jumped to a 79. Oh boy. He's a depth forward. That one I might leave up to you guys. Should we be playing him in the NHL as a depth forward or give him a little bit more time in the AHL and then he could come up maybe mid-season? Maybe we wait. Yeah, I think we're going to maybe wait until the playoffs because he literally could be one of those guys that jump up drastically. Kind of like in my Islanders series, that one guy that jumped to an 83, Ragnarsson. So, I think we'll probably leave Vasilyev to start in the AHL, but he might be in the NHL by the end of the season. So there's the left wingers, centers, Skopitz, Cogliano, Cashman, Hansen, Krejcek, Risto, Leinen. McKinnon's a 77 too as a low lead. Damn. We have actually a lot of guys that are like depth forward options. Who's going to be our depth forward? So Krejcek would be a depth forward. That's one depth forward. Aside from that, let's see. Third line checking forward. Depth forward for Del Monte. Del Monte could be a depth option too. And then from a defensive standpoint, maybe we have to probably send down somebody to the AHL to start. Because we have too many forwards, I think. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And technically, if we move McLeod to forward, that's 15. So, one forward needs to be sent down. And that forward's going to be Krejcik for the time being, I think. Yeah. Wait, actually? Yeah, it's going to be Krejcik for the time being. Boom. Let's go best lines and see what we're working with. All right, so top line is going to be... Ooh, I hope it's on the top line, kind of. That's not a bad option. But yeah, our left wing side of things without Delisle is quite barren. But we are going to have to take Del Monte out of the lineup for the time being here. He's probably going to still be a depth forward for us. And we're going to actually... We need to get McLeod out of the defensive side of things. That will help. So I could actually kind of see what we have here. We don't need to put Johnston in that spot. We'll put Nold in that spot for the time being. Let's see. Go back to forwards here. So this is going to be a little bit messy and a lot of time-consuming effort, but we should have an okay-looking lineup still once we make some adjustments here. Dingle onto the second line. Is that a good idea? He's a two-way forward. I prefer him on the third line. Probably doubt he could be in the top 6. He's also a two-way, though. So maybe we'll put somebody else like Reefers into that top 6, but that line doesn't work well together. Oh boy. Let's see. What if I put McLeod on the second line? Okay, looks like Matt Duchene as a coach is probably not the best option here, but we'll see. A lot of these guys are third line scoring forwards. God damn, man. I want to get a lot of these guys good ice time too. Boom. So the only line that's minus right now is that second line. Is there any way to get rid of that minus? Okay, there we go. That's not bad. Kolar's back in the top 6 is not what I was anticipating to do, but that's probably the best in terms of chemistry. Now, it does mean our top 9 doesn't have any chemistry, which is not good, so we might have to still readjust that. From a defensive standpoint, we are going to go with, let's see, Petterman up, Tulip, Bell should probably be still higher up in the lineup too. Okay, that's not a bad defensive core when you look at it now. There is a lot of lefties together, but it's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. I think this might be what... Oh, man, I didn't realize Cogliano was scratched. Okay, that's definitely something that shouldn't be happening. The other person that should be scratched, who was it that I said? I'm not scratching Risto. Scratching Risto is like literally a douche move. There might be some guys that complain about ice time, so I might have to send down Hansen, to be honest, and yeah, I might have to send down Hansen. God damn, this is crazy. There you go, maybe something like that. Maybe not. Holy crap, why is this so hard to adjust? There you go. Okay, we'll go with something like that. And then we probably need to send Hansen down. We'll call up Krejcik again, because Krejcik's probably okay with being scratched. Holy moly. So yeah, Hansen, even though he's a third line scoring forward, I'm going to send him down just because right now I want, obviously, Ristolainen to be still in the lineup. I know I could scratch Risto and stuff like that, but that's a douche move to do to a guy that's been with your team for a long time. That's like the Mike Modano treatment, basically, what Mike Babcock did to him. So from an offensive standpoint, that's probably what we run with. This is our lineup. Defensively, chemistry looks okay defensively. How about special teams? How does that look? -3s on these units. I don't really like the -3 at all. Let's see if we could get rid of the -3 a little bit. -2. Yeah, I might not use Matt Duchene as their head coach. Because right now the chemistry is kind of mixed. Penalty kill looks good. So I think Duchene's a good defensive coach, but his offense just doesn't work well with us. So we'll go back and look at the coaches and see the team fit, but likely that's what we run with. In the AHL, who is scratched that shouldn't be? Just Shodin, but it doesn't really matter at this stage because we have a lot of goaltenders. Yeah, that's okay. And then Vasilyev on the top line, playing with Hansen, and we might go with Khudobin instead. Actually, no, he's a grinder. Maybe Lebda should be higher up because he's a top 6 forward. Does he work better? Sure, you know what? Peluso, I think, is... Palooza is actually not bad. You know what? Palooza could stay on that top 6. Yeah, this is an interesting AHL lineup. Because Vasilyev, like I said, he could get called up halfway through the season, but he's got 4-star shooting already, and we drafted him obviously not too long ago. 39 points last year, 21 goals. Didn't play a single playoff game because they didn't make it, but yeah, I'm excited to see if this guy makes our NHL team at the end of the season or not. Alright, so the HL team has a good goalie and a really good prospect on offense, which is nice. So we actually have some depth down there we could call up if there's injuries, but aside from that, it's looking good. This is looking good. I mean, it's not the most insane roster in the world. Obviously, we're dropping off a bit, but it still should be good enough, I think, to make the playoffs, potentially. So, last few things we got to do is we got to take a look at the coaches again here and see if Matt Duchene is the right one for the job, which I'm not thinking he is right now based on the forward chemistry. He's a 61. That's not too bad. What if we demote him? What about our old head coach in Belis? How good is he? 61 as well. Okay, so we probably would stick with Beals just because he's an A+ over Duchene. Krejci, how good are you? 61 as well. You're okay to be still an assistant, probably. Definitely not Salak. Herbis was not an NHL coach. It was Hromis, who was our other coach last year. 66. Damn, that's actually pretty impressive. We'll maybe look at Hromis as a head coach, but I'm not too sure if he's what I want just because of the fact he's only a B-rated coach. Like, I think if he's a B-rated coach, that's going to make us worse. But he is a good fit, apparently, as a head coach. So let's just take a look at the chemistry with the B-rated coach. See how good it looks. Let's see. Offense is muchly improved in the bottom 9. The first line has no chemistry. Defense isn't improved at all. It's worse. Power play number 1 still doesn't look good. Power play number 2 looks worse. Power play doesn't really look much better with this coach. Penalty kill looks pretty much the same too. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this coach. Even though he's a 66%, it's not a bad coach, but he's also lower rated, so I'm kind of going to demote him, I think. And I'm going to demote, I guess, Krejci from the assistant coach to, let's actually, let's go with Duchene as the NHL assistant. Yeah, we'll go with Bielis as the head coach. Duchene as the associate. We'll move Krejci down to the AHL. Hromis will come up as an assistant coach because he's got a good fit still with his team. And we'll move Krejci to assistant in the AHL. Okay, that's probably what we run with for our coaching staff. So then that means basically with this coach, considering he's an A+ fit, let's take a look and see if we need to rework things a little bit. McLeod doesn't fit that top line well. Dingle fits it okay. So McLeod onto the second line might be okay to go with. Aside from that, the chemistry is better in the bottom 6. Defense still looks good. Power play doesn't look good still. Yeah, our special teams definitely still need some work, but our penalty kill looks actually good still with this coach too. So it's that our power play just doesn't look nice. But this honestly might be the team we run with for the start of the season. And like I said, there's guys in the AHL that could come up if we get injury trouble or we just need to make an adjustment. Like Vasilyev easily can make the NHL again. Hansen could be up for the playoffs. Sagan could be called up. Lawson could be called up. Segal and Carlotti could get called up. Carlotti was on our team the last few years. He's lost morale due to ice time, so maybe I should be calling him back up. And maybe not because Nold's better now. And then goalies, Andronov obviously could come up at any time and get sent back down with any issues. So this is an interesting team, an interesting spot to be in. We don't really have a lot of X factors on this team anymore, but it is still an okay looking roster. So is there any other things we need to do before we end off this episode? I don't think so. Let me just check the captain's stuff again, even though there's have been no retirements. Risto should be still captain. USC is. Cashman assistant is okay. Kolar's is assistant. All right. So yeah, I'm not too sure on exactly how good this team is going to do, but I think we're still good enough. I think we are. Obviously, the wheels have fallen off quite a bit from a lot of the top-end talent, but I still think we have at least enough guys that are 80+ overall that we should be okay. Now, we might have some guys complain about ice time, so we might need to make some more adjustments so people don't complain about ice time. But guys like Ristolainen, I don't expect him to do as much in his last season, but still very good defensive forward, so I'm expecting him to still do good for us on that bottom six. And then hopefully we get guys like Kolar's not dropping off too hard, considering he's now 38. Like, this is not a young team anymore in the slightest. Like, Bell is probably going to drop off throughout the season too. But at least we brought back some former players, which gives us a bit more depth to our lineup. Like, it's kind of nice having Del Monte as an option just in case of any injuries and stuff like that. Like, 30 points last year is not bad, so he could definitely maybe help us out if we do get any injury concerns. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we will obviously simulate the second last season of this franchise mode, and we'll see what this team could do. Obviously, it's a little bit weak without Delisle. Obviously, we'll see where Delisle signs in the next episode too, speaking of him. But obviously, we're a lot weaker than we used to be. We have a lot of guys dropping off due to age and stuff like that. So I don't really know if we're going to drop off so hard that basically we're going to miss the playoffs, or if we're still a good enough team to make it. I feel like we could definitely make it, but I don't know if it's going to be for super long if we do make it. But at least we have a lot of these guys locked up, so the contracts and stuff we have to deal with in the next offseason probably won't be that bad, I think. So anyways, let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.